So my name is Ania Soliman and I'm an artist, and where I'm from is a little bit complicated because my mother is Polish, my father was Egyptian, and I was raised in Baghdad. So I grew up in Baghdad and lived there until I was 16. And then the longest time also I've lived in New York, but I live in Europe. So I guess if I had to choose a place where I feel most at home, I would say both Baghdad and New York. Growing up and being Polish and Egyptian, so Arab and Eastern European, was not an easy navigation because obviously people always ask you, where are you from? So quite early on, I went to an international school. I learned to say, well, I'm this and that. So there's this idea of this and that. There's always been this struggle in my work between drawing and this physical activity that's sort of mute in a strange way, and language, which I love language. There's always been this duality of those two. And I'm wondering how much this comes from my background, this need to resolve opposites into some kind of coherence that is not forced. Feeling that drawing is this obsessive activity, there were moments in my life where I wasn't necessarily thinking of it as a public thing, where I would just draw and then you still think of yourself as an artist, but not necessarily as a professional artist. But that never felt satisfying, and I think that that's partly why I went to universities, to have this broader context. So the idea is like, what can art do in the world that is a kind of practical thing as well? When it really shifted, something more private, was when I got a commission to do an installation at the Anthropology Museum in Basel, where there was a definite kind of seriousness. I couldn't just do my own thing. I had to sort of very consciously engage with a very heavy history, with a very difficult history that really influenced the way I approached work. So that was my first serious, first public approach to art. You can say different things in different media. So when I think of what I want to do with my day, I often say I want to draw. So that's a kind of natural desire that's there always. But then the idea of film is really important as well. I think the moving image, the idea of a filmic language is really important as well. And that's maybe the least developed, but it's very important to the ideas that are behind it. And most recently I've been working with performance, and I'm still not quite sure what it is for me. But I want to work more with the idea of dance as a theory, but also just with the concept of performance. And thinking about it in terms of like artificial intelligence and robotics, but also the human body, like what it does in connection to the mind. Those are the media, and I think part of the challenge is how to make them all work together. There's also research, so everything is based on quite extensive and quite detailed research that, to the best of my capacity, I engage with a form of knowledge and try to make sense of it, but not to become an expert, so that my language remains flowing and not pretend that I'm something I'm